How are you guys this fine Thursday morning? Sorry for being a little bit late here. The market's just open. Oh, wait a minute. Let me get you my screen. It's a tough night. I live in British Columbia, of course, and it's been a very, very dry summer. There's forest fires everywhere, and there's actually one not too far away from us. Well, not too far in the global sense, not too far. It's actually quite a ways away. But the smoke from forest fires, of course, goes everywhere. And the winds are pretty calm this morning or through the night. And so I was having a little trouble sleeping. If I sound a little hoarse today, it's because of all the smoke that's in the air. It's kind of like being in a room with a bad fireplace. So you know that people with breathing difficulties and asthma and older folks and young children, they're not going to be very happy right now. Okay, let's take a look here. The market made a big move out of the open. Well, not big in the sense that it was a monster move, but big in the sense that it was very active. We took a little bit of a hop. We started the open right about here, took a little bit hop lower, took a little bit of a hop higher, this all within the span of about a minute. Now we're actually working on a second push entry I see here. Or, sorry, not a second push entry, but a double pullback on the Raptor. And I might even consider throwing a sell order in if this bar breaks down now and continues lower. Again, very, very aggressive because we just had this market open up. And it does look like the fur is flying a little bit here this morning. But our other tools also coming into sync. Here's the hawk with a, well, kind of a first micro-macro cross type scenario. And in fact, I might try to put a runner in on this if we get the breakdown here. And that may be as aggressive as I'm going to be right out of the gate here. Okay, the hawk now into yellow bars, so we will nix that. Going into a green bar sell. And our Raptor still in this double pullback phase. So here's pullback 1. I counted this initially as pullback 2, but it looks like maybe the second pullback was right here. So now we've come out of here, we've generated a sell signal, actually engaged our sell signal, so I'd better get a stop in order. I'd actually like it above that swing high. We need this bar to finish lower, and the swing point will actually default to this area. Well, I guess we're bouncing off of the 10 cloud also, aren't we? Big obstacle right here. This is the major obstacle, that low. Oh, that doesn't look good. Come on, fight it down a little bit. Alright, that's all I'm going to give them, is that bar. And once again, I might be a little quick on this, but it is early. I suppose I could give them to the trend line. Let's do that. Okay, now this is actually setting up to be a failed sell signal. The way this market is progressing. Now let's take a look here. If we're going to get a comparable signal on the Falcon or the Hawk. Alright, so the way it looks now is we've had our little trading range here. We've broken out. We've working on a retest. Now we're going to look for a buying opportunity. So it seems like they're not interested in heading lower. So I will give it a chance on the buy side. So here's a first micro macro crossover signal. Problem is I need to cover it very deep. And I can adjust my entry now as the market retreats. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to, since this is only a single, I'm going to see whether or not the buyers are serious about pushing this. Get up there. Come on, give me one more bar. You can do it. Get up there. Come on. There you go. So I'm going to enable my stop strategy now. We hit the break even trigger, so it automatically snapped the trade to break even. Oh, you guys. There we go. Come on now. The NQ yesterday had a funny looking type of day overall. If I build you a NQ chart here, you'll see what I'm talking about. So here's the NQ on the daily, and you can see this is where we're getting all this support from. In fact, it's wedging up a little bit, it seems, doesn't it? Nice little pendant formation. If this holds true, we could see a little bit of a move here to the upside. So far so good on our trade. I might move into something like the parabolics. Okay. Well, that was just fine. The Raptor did come back. The Raptor and the Falcon both came back and gave us subsequent signals. The Raptor doing a very nice little retest of the breakout. So we've got the breakout here. Here comes the retest. Gathering some support from the cloud crossover. And tossing us a nice little signal right there. And here on the Falcon, early trend change signal here. The way the market was breaking down, we had the great big test of the extreme. And we did get an early trend change signal. This actually coincided with the failed signal on the Raptor. However, even if you didn't get that, we still had the proper trend change signal develop right here. A little bit later, let's see, was that enough to get to your profit objective? Yes, yes it was. Alrighty. So the macro pullback got spoiled by the yellow bar, but we're seeing a test of the extreme all the same. Oh, here we go. This is another macro pullback signal. Oh, they are going to give it a push too, aren't they? No, back into yellow bars. I was going to say we could set up to take this macro pullback, perhaps cover it right down here, but now we're into yellow bars again, which is problematic. Oh, and maybe drifting into a red bar buy. Now we know that when the market breaks an area like this, there's normally two pushes in the direction of the breakout. This would be number one, this would be number two. It is a little concerning that they're getting weak already after such a short rally. Alright, well, I thought maybe we were going to get a red bar buy out of that, but maybe not. We got a trend change signal here on the Falcon. However, you want to be careful taking a signal like this. The good news about this particular trend change signal, I'd probably enter here. Good news is you can cover above the swing high. That definitely will tell you if you're wrong. The other bit is you could wait for the second push entry. In other words, you let the signal engage to see how far the market's prepared to go, and then place your entry below there. And you can see we've just produced another sell signal. So no guarantees here that the market's going to go lower. After all, it just paid off to the upside. Oop, spoke too soon. Should have had a runner on that one. Well, at least according to the support and resistance suite, we are here in the bearish assortment of lines. We're kind of stuck between these secondary lines down here. Well, let's take a look at what else we have going on here. Crude oil. Here's crude oil in the Falcon, working a trend change signal to the upside. Trading here off the primary resistance, which hopefully will lend some strength to it. Crude oil, of course, being a little bit more expensive. This is the signal that I'm looking at. Ideally, you'd want to enter above here and cover below here. But of course, that could be a little bit out of reach. At the very least, you'd want to cover the trade right about here. And you can see taking some heat on that one. It's not to say it's not going to work out. Crude looking a little bit more bullish this morning than it has been. Let's see if they get some support off of that trend line. Overall, a rather tight range for crude. Let's see, they opened right about here. So they haven't really done a whole lot. This all came through the overnight. Crude oil's been a very, very sticky market of late. Not the lightning fast crude that we're used to seeing. Oh, we're looking at some signals here developing while we were looking the other direction. We've got a possible double pullback building here in the Raptor. Again, trading right off of the lows. You know, when you see the market trading near the lows like this, there's nothing wrong with delaying your signal and taking it in below the low, right? Nobody says you have to enter on the hash mark. The hash mark is merely a suggested entry. So it's okay to set it up like this if you like. Buyer's blowing it out here according to the Geiger counter. Not a whole lot on the sell side. Not yet. Okay, we've definitely got a double pullback now into the hard edge. We're generating that hard edge bounce. Okay, well, let this simmer for a moment. Suncom is asking, I have the support and resistance suite on the Falcon also for the NQ, but my lines are looking different than yours. Why is that? Okay, it could be a couple of things. First off, don't panic if your numbers aren't exactly the same. I'm running an 8-tick mean Renko bar. If you're not using the mean Renko bars, it may recalculate the lines ever so slightly differently. As far as the data, I'm running 10 days of data, and I'm using the default 24/5. Now that shouldn't adjust the data too much, especially on a Thursday. It may make it look a little bit different on a Monday if you are set at 24/7. But even then, I do believe that we programmed that little anomaly out. What was happening is the Sunday Globex Open was skewing the numbers a little bit, but I got the programmer to put the Sunday morning open on its own. So even if you're running 24/7, it should still produce the right numbers. The other thing it could be is your computer clock. These lines calculate, here, let's go to the support and resistance suite. These lines calculate at midnight New York time. So you'll see here at the top, custom time offset in hours allows you to set your support and resistance suite or to account for your time zone. Relative to New York time. Now there too, it shouldn't make that much of a difference, but sometimes it will. And that's really the only other thing you can adjust besides the colors, I mean. And last but not least, it could be our data providers. If there is even a few milliseconds difference, sometimes it will set the lines at slightly different numbers. Now, if you're not able to resolve this, please send a screenshot to me. And you go down here to your image, just right click on your chart, go to image. You can email it directly if you want, or you can save it and put it in an email to me. But not to worry, we will get you squared away. Because trading is such a global activity now, it seems that every once in a while we run into these issues. Okay, the market full on into yellow bars here. I'm going to scrub that sell order, although you could just leave it down there. There's no harm in leaving it parked there. If we break down below the lows, that is very much a valid sell. Oh, speaking of which, here they come back with another sell. So we've got the sell signal here. Looks like they're going to make a run at the lows. The big deal now is whether or not they have the strength to overwhelm the buyers. That's one thing about the NASDAQ buyers. My goodness, they are not to be trifled with. Just when you think the market cannot go any higher, it goes higher. And we're getting our first micro-macro cross coinciding here. Same thing though, I would be sure to take it below the low, cover it above there. Even though I'm making the trade move a few extra ticks, I do not want to get stuck. Oh, let's see, one tick below the low. And we'll see now whether or not that's going to be enough, or whether they're coming down here on vapors. Okay, well, we hit our high probability target. I'm going to snap this trade to break even. And we're just sitting above our first profit target. Oh, you guys. Here's the retest from the breakout, right? And we have the breakout now to the downside, and what we're looking at is the retest. And of course, there is a chance this retest could go a little bit deep. Ideally, it's going to hold there, and then we'll see it head a little bit lower still. It's a little quickie retest. Come on, sellers. Come on. Come on. You guys, I'm going to make it easy on you. I'm going to let you take it right there. Oh, you're killing me. Oh, this is sticky here. Come on, take that low. We need to see somebody trade here 44.57. That's where all the buying support is. Doggone it. Well, at least we got the scalp out of the trade. And at least we got the break even out of the trade, so I shouldn't complain. Okay, so that appears to be where everybody is dug in. Yeah, so Suncom says his data provider is different than mine. I've got Kinetic. Send me a screenshot, Suncom, and we'll see if we can't get you squared away here. And send it here. I'm going to send it to the programmer also. His name is Ben, and Ben's email is support@indicatorwarehouse.com. If anybody is ever having these types of issues, and he's going to send it to me also, but you can CC me at eric@supportandresistance.com. Oh, a nice little 4-arrow consolidation. I turn away for a moment and look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4 arrows. The 4-arrow consolidation is the only signal I will take on the yellow bar in the hawk because it is that reliable. Now we're getting another first micro-macro cross, which seems to have engaged. Oh, don't run away. I was just about to try to set that up. All right, be like that. We actually had in hindsight, it's easier to see this hard edge bounce here on the eagle. When it developed though, it would have been a tough trade to commit to because the signal's right here. The lows are right here, but look at how many ticks you have to give up in order to gain that entry. You're giving up almost half of your profit objective. So in that type of scenario, you take the trade on the hash mark because it's more important that you cover your trade at a decent level than try to capture some momentum on the entry. So could I cover it up there? No, too far. Can I cover it above this swing? Yes. Okay. Can I cover it kind of midways? Yes. So I'd probably go with something like that. Just in case there's a reaction here to the lows and the market bounces a little higher. Now in this case, it was a non-issue. But when it was printing, that would not have been nearly as obvious. Wow, crude oil still breaking down. Here's crude oil now on the Eagle. We're kind of at the top end of this trading range that the market has established for itself. We're also producing a rule of three type scenario. Now the signal's since run away on me a little bit, but we've had, well, the band is kind of in transition, so what I'm really looking at here is more the test of the extreme and the failure. Right, the market came up, gave me a test of the extreme to the downside. It should have rallied at least above this high, but it didn't. It failed and now is trying to break this low and possibly break that low. So even though I missed it on the Eagle, I think that we may get an opportunity here yet on the Hawk or the Falcon. So I'm going to keep a lookout for that. Yeah, what a mixed bag. All right, well, we'll just kind of let them simmer a bit. Yeah, there might be something wrong with, not with the way your bars are, or your lines are calculating, Suncom, but there's got to be a little problem in there somewhere, because I just thought, well, maybe I'll check it on a time chart. So here's a 5-minute chart for the NQ, and the support and resistance suite is still calculating on the same levels, it seems. Let's try a tick chart, because I know sometimes ticks do things differently. Let's do sure, let's do a 150 tick. Oops. No, they still calculate at the same level. All right, so I suspect it could be the start time, or maybe, doesn't matter. We'll figure it out. We have seen this problem before, though, and I forget exactly what the solution was. Okay, so here comes the Raptor challenging the lows yet again. This is not the strongest signal for the Raptor. Ideally, we want to see the Raptor trading off of the hard edge. So, actually, I should cancel that. If it runs away from me here, so be it. But the better signal would be to see the market retreat here to the hard edge. And then perhaps give us a signal. But we do have some downward momentum today, which is nice. I do think that this is more of a seller's market. Oops. Here we're getting a soft edge sell on the Eagle. Again, the problem with this particular trade is having to cover it, right? We know that this is where the market broke out, so a retest of this level is not unlikely. So you have to think, okay, if I'm brought in down here, can I cover the trade all the way up there? And in this case, I can't. So we might have to look at other options. situations that we can control a little bit better. Perhaps on the hawk or the falcon, the raptor even. Because the market's going to go through these pullback phases. And we are sitting just above our support line here. Oh, there they go. They're breaking down a little bit. And there they go. Looks like we might see that retest after all. Possible late filter entry here in the Falcon. The late filter entry signal occurs when your filter goes out of sync and eventually comes back into sync. Your trend line does not change color. That is key. So I can tell from these warning dots that if this bar finishes lower, as it just did, it will print a sell signal with the filter back into sync now. Now the better trade is to enter below the low. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. This becomes a matter of logistics now, whether or not you want to give up the 3 or 4 ticks to gain entry. Because chances are if it fills us here, it will fill us here also. All right, so we definitely would have been filled there, and you see we got filled here also. But now I'm having to make my trade work just that little bit extra to reach my profit target. Which is not always fun. Come on now. Come on. As far as our support and resistance suite goes, the next zone is way down here around 44.25. We'll see whether or not they're able to get that far. And you know what? We're in the demo room. Let's have a little bit of fun with this today. We'll go 44.26. We'll see whether or not they can make that. Oops, wrong button. Come on. Come on. Oh, you guys. Here we go. Okay, so they just kissed the break-even trigger. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this order. I just want to see whether or not they can get down here. So we've technically hit the break-even trigger, and I can't see for the arrow whether we tapped the entry or not. I don't think so, not yet anyway. I would not recommend ever disabling your stop, but we are here in sim mode in the room, so I didn't want to get stopped just on a little hiccup there. The problem with the break-even trigger is I can take the stop and I can roll it back here, but it will automatically snap the trade to break even all the time, which is why I turned the stop off. Okay, that's probably far enough. See what I mean? Like it automatically takes it to the break even. All right, so we hit our high probability profit target. Hooray! Now I'm curious whether or not we can get it down to that 44.26 line. No, see, here we go again. So let's go with something a little bit more conservative. And once again, I'm going to have to disable my trailing stop. I do know a couple of traders who trade with mental stops, but they are very good about trading their mental stops. They are from the school of thought that says they don't want the market to see where their stops are. Honestly, I don't know what difference that would make there. You know, pikers by market standards. It's not like they're going into the market with 100 orders. But at any rate, some people feel that way. So if you decide that you want to be a trader like that, trading mental stops, you cannot flinch. So let's say, for instance, you say, okay, I'm going to roll my stop here to 44.37.5. If it hits 44.37.75, you must close your trade. And they have the discipline to do that. Most people, 99% of the population will say, oh, well, maybe I'll give it just a couple more ticks. And then the next thing you know, the market is trading up here and people are just hoping and wishing and praying that they can get the trade back to a break-even situation. All right, looks like I can re-enable my stop. The ATR would have held me in, and there was no way I was going to let it get back above break-even. But this is kind of a fun exercise. Omar always used to do this. He would use the support and resistance lines as his profit targets, and you can see, you know, it can become quite profitable with those bigger targets. That's a $300 target down there. And quite frankly, at this point, with you know, the better part of $250 in open profit, you see this candle right here with that wick on the top of it? I would have my stop sitting right above there. So at this point, I would very much be using a more aggressive stop strategy, perhaps parabolics. perhaps the bar high-low, perhaps even rolling it manually. Tony says, you must not have tickled the bars with the mouse for a while. Yeah, see, they're down here. Come on, come and get some. There, hooray. Right down to our support line. Let's see whether we get a little bit of support here now. Oh, they're slipping a little. They hit 44.25. And now we're starting to get a little bit of support. So, hooray for us. Oh, now there's a very nice day. There's a good number to be printing today. So we had several opportunities here. It looks like we got signals across the board. We got that soft edge sell on the Eagle, which was right about there. Good follow through there. No problem finding our profit objective. And let's take a look here on the Hawk. Oh, a plethora of signals on the Hawk. This first micro macro cross right here, that was the one that you wanted. And some of you are looking at this and saying, well, Eric, didn't the micro macro lines cross way back here? Yes, they did. But you have to remember what the first micro macro cross signal tells you. It's not simply that the micro and macro lines are crossing over. It's a signal that develops when the market has gone all out of sync and then comes back into sync. So it essentially shows you the struggle in the marketplace, the buyers and the sellers fighting for control. One moment the buyers have control, the next moment the sellers have control. And then finally, one side wins. In this case, it was the sellers. Everything comes back into sync. You'll see here, the market was retreating, our trend line goes out of sync. Okay, we're looking at a macro pullback, not the end of the world. Oh, bar colors go out of sync. Oh, filter goes out of sync. Everything is out of sync. Everything comes back into sync. Technically, this is a first micro macro cross signal. Just as this is a first micro macro cross, just as this is a first micro macro cross, as is this. Notice in each instance, the bar colors, the trend line, and the filter go out of sync, and everything comes back into sync here too. Bar colors, trend line, filter goes out of sync, comes back into sync. All right, so you can get more than one first micro macro cross signal in a trend. It is first by name only, first micro macro cross. The principle remains the same, and just look at that follow through. Just a fantastic trade there. Okay, so they're still tailing off a little bit. We're currently out of the trade. You can see we're getting a little bit of a later reaction here to our support and resistance lines. And now there could be a little bit of profit taking going on. I know that's what I did. I've also got the British pound up this morning, but they're not doing a whole lot. Maybe I spoke too soon. We're getting a little bit of a bounce here. This is a red bar buy, even though it retraced very, very deep past the cloud, past the hard edge. This is still a red bar buy. The bad thing about this trade is that we're currently against the ATR line. So this now becomes our signal bar now that we've flipped the ATR over. And you could cover the trade right below there. Nice thing about the British pound, it trades at 6 1/4 a tick. So like the NASDAQ and the mini Dow, you're able to trade it with smaller account, with less risk, better chance of multiple contracts. This profit target is a little bit out of reach. I would have to readjust that. Let's see. So we actually want a 32 tick target here. Oh, and there they go. Almost there. Certainly far enough into the trade that we've got about $300 open profit. I would seriously consider running an ultra tight stop or just punching out with profit. And you can see I did something to my computer that my animations are not performing the way they're supposed to. All right, so they're moving a little bit sideways. Not a big surprise. Like I said, probably a little bit of profit taking. We are getting a trend change signal here on the Falcon, but these are the types of signals you need to use caution on. If you're going to take this type of signal, you're definitely going to want to dial down your risk amount a little bit because the trade is obviously counter trend, right? People always write me about these types of trades. They say, oh, well, Eric, it's the trend change signal, and I set it up like this, that, and the other thing, and the signal didn't work out, assuming it doesn't work out. What did I do wrong? Well, you cannot trade in a vacuum. You need to always look at the overall context. Today, the market is in a downtrend. Pretty much right out of the open, it has been moving lower. That does not mean it cannot move higher. Certainly our scalp target is very modest. However, when you are trading counter trend, you need to be aware that you're trading counter trend. Right? This would be a more reliable trade if we first had our test of the extreme and we come back and now we're producing a buy signal. That's showing a little bit more strength on the buyer's side. At this stage, what this signal is hoping for is to become a little bit more of a test of the extreme on the buy side, after which it will reverse, come down here, perhaps fail, and head higher again. But like I said, you need to bear in mind that this is counter trend. It is a lower probability signal. Therefore, caution is in order. I certainly wouldn't risk more than a single contract, and I would probably become more aggressive with my stops also. So even though I'm not sure if we hit our break-even target just yet, even if I didn't, I would probably have my stop very, very close to my entry. Because once again, we have not had this test of the extreme here to say the sellers are prepared to walk away from the market, at least short term. Okay, they're trying though. So here's the type of scenario where, because this is counter trend, personally I feel better about getting stopped at a break-even situation, even though this market may still continue a little bit higher. It's also starting to look a little bit like a bear flag, isn't it? Where we're getting this type of scenario going on, and of course with the bear flag, very often we see a breakdown this way. Hence the name. All right, well, not much to see there right now. And there they go. There's a little burst to the upside now. A little bit more aggressive than I thought they would be, but they at least got far enough to find what our profit objective would have been here on this trend change. Alrighty then. I'm really looking more for an opportunity to sell. Oh, looks like the pound trade worked out. Nice little red bar buy down there. Nice little green bar sell right here off of the hard edge. I'm not sure why my screens are not snapping back to where they're supposed to be. Okay, so we're just on hold. I don't really see anything developing. We are getting a first micro-macro cross signal here, but the same principle applies, right? The market's not necessarily going to go full-blown bull just because we're getting a first micro-macro cross signal. So this is the kind of situation where you're going to have to enter above the high, try to cover it as deep as you can. And this also, this value here, this 44.36, happens to be the hard edge on the Eagle Cloud. So, keep the context in mind of what it is that you're looking at. It's okay to miss a signal, really it is. You don't have to feel like you gotta trade every single signal. It's okay to miss a signal. It's okay to be choosy. Well, we've already had another profitable session, so as far as our 20-day challenge is concerned, so far so good. We may be on hold here for a moment as the market sorts itself out a little bit. Crude oil still nothing. So we're pretty much just here in wait mode at the moment. So I'm watching this hard edge here. We did get enough follow through on our macro pullback signal and our first micro macro cross to find our profit objective, as well as the trend change signal here on the Falcon and the late filter entry signal, which I was a little surprised to see develop counter trend, but it did. The Raptor is looking a touch more bullish also as we're getting some cloud crossover support going on. I don't know if we're going to get a great big rally out of this though. Well, we'll hang with it for a little while, see what happens. This is trading. Sometimes you just have to wait. So we're seeing a little bit of resistance. They're still kind of hovering around that hard edge. Nothing really moving one way or the other at this point. I'm starting to wonder whether it's another one of those sessions with the NQ where we get our move, our initial move, and then the market just kind of goes flat for the rest of the session. Because there has not been much going on for the last 15, 20 minutes or so. Yeah, like Tony says, minutes of boredom with seconds of profit. That's about it. Well, you guys, I think we're going to button up the room. It's near the top of the hour. If you are going to be trading this afternoon, well, you know what? It is a bear market. So I think I would be more open to selling opportunities than buying opportunities, even though it appears as though we are plugging a little bit higher. But the momentum definitely seems to be in favor of the sellers today. But caution, is definitely in order. All right, you guys, we will catch up with you again Friday morning. We'll see you then. Bye for now.